Hello, everybody. Welcome back to DynastyCast. And today it is the end of week one for the NFL season and the couple days leading into week two. As you may notice on the screen, you see that little green app there. Something has happened over the weekend, and I have become a part of the community on the Game Takes app. This is an app that you can download on your phone, and you could have podcasts with your friends or other people that use this app. Um, I had a podcast yesterday on that app with somebody that I met through Twitter who got a hold of me and wanted to do a show with me. And I was referred to the guy that I did the show yesterday from that guy, the first guy. That guy's name was Neil. And second guy that I actually ended up doing the episode with, his name was Peter. I'll let you know where you can find him in a minute. Um, anyway, so on the Game Takes app, I did an episode with Peter, and we basically talked about some things that happened Sunday on the NFL, and we talked about the Monday night games, which just happened last night. Those are the freshest things in our brains. Also, uh, I want you guys to go on that app. I want you guys to download Game Takes. I want you guys to go and find me. It is still DynastyCast. It's not hard to find me. Listen to that episode with Peter, and then you can see Peter in that episode on the app, and go and follow Peter and listen to his content as well. Um, yeah, so you're gonna get two or more episodes talking about football and sports from me a week. Not only will you have this YouTube episode, which is practically guaranteed, but you will also likely have a Game Takes episode. Now, a Game Takes episode might be a condensed version of the YouTube episode, or it will be something similar to the YouTube episode, but exploring different topics and possibly going in depth with other things that have happened in the current week of the NFL. So it's pretty cool. Um, I think it's pretty fucking awesome. These guys just reached out to me and wanted me to be a part of the community. They wanted to do some shows with me, and you know, I'm happy. I'm delighted. You know, it's a cool feeling to want to be a part of a community, to be wanted in a community, and you know, I'm there now. So, like I said, go and download the Game Takes app. You will find me on there at DynastyCast. Also, like, comment, and subscribe to this video. Please subscribe to my channel. Hit that notification bell to get notified whenever a video gets uploaded. I'm going to be here every week talking about the previous week of the NFL and predicting the next week of the NFL. So make sure you're here and listening. Alright, you can follow me on Twitter at DynastyCast, at Instagram at Dynasty_cast. Like I said, do all the stuff to subscribe to the channel. Go on Game Takes, find me there, subscribe to that. Download the episode, listen to it, leave a review. Make sure you hit that 5-star review on Game Takes app as well. Alright, I think I'm done plugging my show here. Let's get into it. Week one of the NFL season has wrapped up, and it was a weird fucking week of football. I'm going to talk about some things that I didn't talk about in the episode on Game Takes with Peter. I'm going to talk about how Ryan Fitzpatrick went the fuck off. Ryan Fitzpatrick, what the fuck happened? Last year, this defense that the New Orleans Saints boasted was one of the top tier defenses in the league, and there's Ryan Fitzpatrick. Fucking Ryan Fitzpatrick throwing 417 yards and 4 touchdowns, rushing for 36 yards and a touchdown against this defense. And the Buccaneers win. Who the fuck saw that coming? Seriously, somebody comment down below and tell me that you had that. I want to know, because I guarantee you nobody had the Buccaneers winning that game, especially with the kind of performance that Ryan Fitzpatrick pulled out of his ass. Now, Ryan Fitzpatrick can either do this again, or this week against Philadelphia, he will shit the bed. One of those two things will happen. Um, this was unexpected, to say the least. Uh, it was almost not even close. It was not even close at one point. It was 40, what, 41 to fucking 24 at one point. Get out of here. What the hell was going on? It ended up being a final of 48 to 40, but Jesus. Ryan Fitzpatrick played the greatest game of his career Sunday in the Louisiana Dome in Louisiana, New Orleans, Louisiana. Jesus. I'm lost for words. His performance has dumbfounded me. I can't even talk. Drew Brees had a pretty good game too. Alvin Kamara tore it up. He had 3 all-purpose touchdowns and 2-point conversion, which helped me a lot in fantasy. Um, that game was nuts, absolutely insane. And Ryan Fitzpatrick, offensive player of the week in my eyes. I don't see why not. That was nuts. That was absolutely nuts. Had no business doing what he did, and he did it. So, all right. People can argue Aaron Rodgers to be offensive player of the week, but it's Aaron Rodgers. You can expect a great game like he had out of him. Talking about a guy who had no business playing like he did, and he pulled an amazing game out of his ass. So I'm gonna go ahead and leave offensive player of the week in my eyes to Ryan Fitzpatrick. Moving forward, we're going to actually go and talk about the Browns now. The Browns, they didn't lose. The Cleveland Browns did not lose. For the first time in over a year, they did not lose. But they also didn't win. The Cleveland Browns, I believe, hosted the Pittsburgh Steelers. And they tied. The amount of disappointment that you could hear in my voice. The Browns and Steelers tied 21 to 21 after 4 quarters and a 10-minute overtime. It was tied. The Browns had multiple opportunities to win this game, along with the Steelers, who also had multiple opportunities to win this game. And yet again, I will reiterate, it was a tie. Only the Cleveland Browns. What else happened? Derek Carr was dominated last night by the Rams defense on Monday Night Football. The Jets dominated the Lions and Matt Stafford on Monday Night Football. Sam Darnold, yes, I know, I said it right this time. Sam Darnold, not Josh Rosen that I was thinking of last week. Sam Darnold, although his first play of the game was utterly atrocious, from then on, he balled out. So he looked like the real deal. He just had to get that one out of his system. So Sam Darnold, good game, buddy. That's a good feeling. He had his big first touchdown, 41-yard bomb to Robbie Anderson. So good for him. Good for him. What else is another big star? Saquon Barkley got his first touchdown of his rookie season. He broke off a big 68-yard touchdown run against the Jacksonville Jaguars, which is impressive in its own right because that is arguably the best defense in the NFL. And Saquon Barkley was able to walk in the end zone basically untouched. They ended up still losing though, but for Barkley, that's good for him. Tennessee Titans. Oh boy. The Tennessee Titans and the Miami Dolphins engaged in what was the longest game in NFL history due to a rain delay because of lightning. And the Dolphins ended up smacking the Titans around. Marcus Mariota left the game after he hurt his elbow. And towards the end of the game, Delaney Walker dislocated his ankle. Or worse, he's on the IR. He's done for the season. So the Titans are already in trouble. Oh my God. I cannot wait to talk about this, but I'm gonna wait a little bit longer. I'm gonna wait to talk about this because when I talk about this, oh, can I not wait to talk about this? What else? You'll find out what I'm talking about. The Thursday night game was a fucking stinker. The Eagles squeaked one out over the Falcons. That game fucking sucked. The Bears choked on their own beef. Sunday night against Aaron Rodgers and the Packers. First half, Khalil Mack was dominating absolutely all over the place. He had the best 3 minute span a defensive player has ever had in the league, most likely. And then in the second half, they completely collapsed, and Aaron Rodgers led his team to a roaring comeback and a victory on Sunday Night Football. Super Cam is back, running all over the place. Had a touchdown run against the Dallas Cowboys. What else we got going on? Oh yeah, Adrian Peterson, for the Washington Redskins, came back, had 95 yards rushing on the ground for a touchdown, 70 yards through the air, and a touchdown, I believe, right? Or just 70 yards receiving, I believe, not a touchdown through the air. Yeah, AP's back. AP is back playing at a high level. Uh, what else we got? Oh yeah, Deshaun Watson and the Texans went to Gillette Stadium, and Deshaun Watson played like shit. They lost. Uh, um, the Colts, Andrew Luck came back, played a pretty decent game. Ultimately, in the end, they still lost. Uh, what happened? The Chiefs shocked me. They played above what I thought they had. Philip Rivers still had a pretty good game. Pat Mahomes had a better one, and the Chiefs win. All right, I think I'm going to go and narrowly talk about all these games individually now. Those were just the highlights that I wanted to touch upon before I actually get into just saying the results of each and every game. Excuse me. Had a hiccup. All right, we're going to go down the line here. Thursday night, game number 1 of the NFL season. The Eagles defeat the Atlanta Falcons 18-12. Nick Foles went 19 for 34 with no touchdowns and an interception, finished with a 50.7 QB rating with 177 yards. Matt Ryan finished with 251 yards, no touchdowns, and pick and 57.4 QB rating. Tevin Coleman had 19 rushing yards, 9 attempts, and 1 touchdown. Jay Ajayi had 62 yards for the Eagles, 15 attempts, and 2 touchdowns. Julio Jones, receiving, had 169 yards and no touchdowns, but he also had like 11 yards rushing. Zach Ertz had 48 yards for the Eagles. The turnover battle was won by the Falcons, who only had 1 turnover. They forced the Eagles to have 2. Yeah, this game was ugly. Absolutely ugly. And the Eagles barely squeaked it out. Moving on, I already touched on this one. We had the tie between the Browns and the Steelers. Ben Roethlisberger threw for 335 yards, 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions, and 2 fumbles. Tyrod Taylor threw for 197 yards, but he threw the ball 40 times. He had a touchdown and an interception, and he also ran for a touchdown. He had 77 yards on the ground. James Conner came in for Le'Veon Bell. He had 135 yards on the ground, 2 touchdowns. Jarvis Landry, for receiving for the Browns, had 7 receptions for 106 yards. Antonio Brown for the Steelers had 9 receptions, 93 yards, and a touchdown. The turnover battle was won by the Browns. They forced the Steelers to have 6. Not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, but 6 turnovers. And yet they still couldn't capitalize and win the game. They had a 6-1 turnover margin and still lost. Moving on, we had the Bengals go to Indianapolis and defeat a returning Andrew Luck with a roaring 17 unanswered points in the 4th quarter to come back and win this game. What do we got here? We have Andrew Luck threw 53 times Sunday. First game back. 53 passes. 53 passes. That's why they lost. No run game. No run game at all. Threw the ball 53 times. Hard to win. when you're one-dimensional. Andrew Luck, 39 of 53 attempts, which isn't bad. But 39 out of 53, that's not bad. 39 completions is never bad. Throwing it 53 times is bad. 319 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick. 93.2 QB rating for Andrew Luck. Wilkins had 40 yards and 14 attempts on the ground. Jesus. Eric Ebron had 51 yards, 4 receptions, and a touchdown. Andy Dalton went 21 of 28 with 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, 109.7 QB rating, 243 yards through the air. Joe Mixon had 95 yards on the ground after 17 attempts with a touchdown. A.J. Green, 6 receptions, 92 yards, and a touchdown. And the turnover battle was tied. They both had 2 turnovers, but in the end, Cincinnati could not be stopped in the fourth quarter, rallying to score 17 points to secure that victory. Moving on to the longest game in NFL history, the Tennessee Titans traveled to Miami to take on the Dolphins. They get a delay because of lightning, and the Dolphins end up beating the Titans 27-20. Ryan Tannehill had 230 yards on 20 completions out of 28 attempts for 2 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. Blaine Gabbert came in to replace an injured Marcus Mariota, who ended up having 117 yards, no touchdowns, and a pick. Frank Gore for the Dolphins had 61 yards on 9 attempts. Kenny Stills had 4 receptions for 106 yards and 2 touchdowns. Dion Lewis for the ground game for the Titans had 75 yards on 16 attempts and a touchdown. Receiving for the Titans, they had Corey Davis go 6 receptions for 62 yards. Turnover battle was won by the Dolphins. They won with only 2 turnovers by them, 3 turnovers by the Titans. And in the end, the Dolphins were able to hold off the Titans, who were struggling because of injuries and just playing a bad game in general. Here we go. This is the game I wanted to talk about, that I was salivating at talking about when I was running down the games before. We have the Minnesota Vikings defeating the God-led, the second coming of Jesus-led 49ers, the savior of San Francisco-led 49ers. Fuck you, Jimmy Garoppolo. Fuck the 49ers. Fuck all you people. Oh, he's gonna fucking take over. He's fucking God. He came after Tom Brady. Jimmy Garoppolo's undefeated. He's not gonna be stopped. He's taking us to the promised land. Bull fucking shit. Jimmy Garoppolo looked like ass. 15 of 33. 1 touchdown. 3 interceptions. 45.1 QB rating. 261 yards through the air. You know what a real quarterback looked like that day? You want to know what a real quarterback that played him looked like that day? 244 yards through the air. 20 completions of 36 attempts. 2 touchdowns, no picks. 95.1 QB rating for Kirk Cousins. Latavius Murray, 42 yards on the ground after 11 attempts. Breida, I hope I said that right, 46 yards on 11 attempts for the 49ers. Receiving, Adam Thielen, 102 yards on 6 receptions. For the Vikings, for the 49ers, Pettis, 61 yards, 2 receptions, and a touchdown. Turnover battle was easily won 4-1 by the Minnesota Vikings, forcing 4 turnovers against the 49ers in a 24-16 victory. Fuck Jimmy Garoppolo, fuck the 49ers. Moving on, we had the New England Patriots held off the Houston Texans after the Houston Texans played somewhat strong in the first half, but towards the end, right before halftime, they let the Patriots go right down and score. So it was a 21-6 game at halftime, which pretty much sealed the deal there for the Texans. They were not going to come back in this one. It's hard to come back against Tom Brady. Tom Brady, speaking of which, went 26 of 39 for 3 touchdowns, 1 pick, and he had 277 yards and a 102.2 QB rating. Deshaun Watson had a bad game. It was sad to see. I like this kid. Deshaun Watson went 17 for 34. With 1 touchdown, 1 pick, 176 yards for a 62.9 QB rating. Rex Burkhead had 64 yards on the ground for the Patriots, 18 attempts, no touchdowns for him. On the ground for the Texans, he had 20 attempts, 98 yards. It's Lamar Miller. Receiving, we had DeAndre Hopkins for the Texans with 8 receptions for 78 yards. And this monster that is yet to be stopped when healthy, Rob Gronkowski, had 7 receptions for 123 yards and a touchdown. Turnover battle actually won by the Texans. They only had 2 turnovers. The Patriots had 3, but yet they still couldn't pull the win out because they fell on their face. And this crazy-ass game, here we go. We had Tampa Bay going into New Orleans, knocking the doors off New Orleans and putting up a 48 bomb on that defense, winning 48-40. This game is fucking nuts, to say the least. Absolutely insane. Here we go. You want to talk about some real quarterback numbers. Take notes, Jimmy Garoppolo. 21 of 28 for 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. 417 yards through the air. And 36 rushing yards, 12 attempts with 1 touchdown. You had Ryan Fitzmagic. On the other end, you had Drew Brees. 439 yards through the air, 37 completions, 45 attempts, 3 touchdowns, no picks. Ryan Fitzpatrick finished with a 156.3 QB rating. Get the fuck out. Get the fuck out of here. Drew Brees finished with a 129.5 QB rating. When you finish a game with a 129.5 QB rating and you didn't have the best QB rating that week, let alone that game, you know shit's crazy. You know shit's crazy. Ryan Fitzpatrick, like I said, ran for those stats I said a couple times in this show already. Alvin Kamara only had 29 yards on the ground for 8 attempts, but he did have 2 touchdowns, and also through the air he had 117 yards and a touchdown. Receiving, we also had Deshaun Jackson with 146 yards, 5 receptions, and 2 touchdowns. For the Saints, we had Michael Thomas with 16 receptions. Oh my God. 180 yards and a touch. Turnover battle was won by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Buccaneers had no turnovers, and the Saints had 2. 48-40 is your final. Tampa Bay wins that one. Going down to New York, the Jacksonville Jaguars came into MetLife Stadium to take on the Giants in a final where we had the Jaguars toppling the Giants 20-15 in an ugly game, but nonetheless, the Jaguars pull this victory out of their hat anyway. Blake Bortles finished with 18 completions for 33 attempts with a touchdown, 1 pick, 176 yards with a 67.2 QB rating. Eli Manning finished the game with 23 of 37 attempts for 244 yards, no touchdowns, 1 pick, 67.8 QB rating. TJ Yeldon came in the game after Leonard Fournette left the game with a hurt hamstring. Leonard Fournette might come back. He's probably going to end up being okay, hopefully. I want to see that kid play. Obviously, you never want to see somebody get hurt, especially somebody with that level of talent. TJ Yeldon came in on 14 attempts with 51 yards. Saquon Barkley for the Giants had 18 attempts, 106 yards, and a touchdown. Receiving, please tell me that's not the receiving leader for the Jaguars that day. Oh my. 3 receptions. That's probably why, because he got a touchdown. 3 receptions, 18 yards, and 1 touchdown for TJ Yeldon. On the Giants side, Odell Beckham had 11 receptions for 111 yards. Turnover battle was won by the Jaguars. They only had 1. They took the ball away from the Giants 2 times. Final in MetLife, 20-15 Jaguars. Moving on, we had, this next one I predicted to be close. This game by no means was close. Absolutely not close at all. The Baltimore Ravens completely destroyed the Buffalo Bills. Josh Allen ended up getting in the game because Nathan Peterman was doing so bad. Joe Flacco, my man Joe Flacid, went 25 of 34 with 236 yards and 3 touchdowns with a 121.7 QB rating. Josh Allen came into the game late. He had 6 completions for 15 attempts, no touchdowns, no picks with 74 yards, 56.0 QB rating. Rushing on the ground, we had Murphy for the Bills with 31 yards, 6 attempts, nothing. Dixon for the Ravens, 44 yards on 13 attempts, 1 touchdown. Receiving on the Bills, we had Zay Jones with 26 yards and 3 touchdowns. Willie Snead for the Baltimore Ravens had 4 receptions for 49 yards and a touchdown. Michael Crabtree also had a touchdown. He had 3 receptions for 38 yards and 1 touchdown. Sean McCoy did virtually nothing. He had 7 attempts for 22 rushing yards and 1 reception for -1 yard on the day. And the turnover battle was easily won by the Ravens, who only had 1 turnover, forcing the Bills to have 2. The Ravens pretty much just did whatever they wanted. 47-3 is your final in Baltimore as the Ravens go 1-0, and the Bills, unfortunately, look like garbage. Kansas City went into LA and upset the Chargers. Pat Mahomes balled out because his man Tyreek Hill is insanely fast and he's able to get the ball to his boy. Pat Mahomes finished with 15 completions for 27 attempts with 4 touchdowns, 256 yards, and a 127.5 QB rating. Phillip Rivers finished with 34 completions for 51 attempts. Jesus. 424 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 1 interception with a 103.7 QB rating. Kareem Hunt ran the ball 16 times for only 49 yards. Melvin Gordon ran the ball 15 times for 64 yards. Receiving, Tyreek Hill led the team with 7 receptions, 169 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Keenan Allen led the Chargers with 8 receptions, 108 yards, and a touchdown. Turnover battle was won by the Chiefs, who did not turn the ball over at all. 0 turnovers to the Chargers, 2 turnovers, and the Kansas City Chiefs won 38-28 in LA. Moving on, the Redskins completely handle a disaster of a football team. The Redskins go to Arizona and completely take over the game, scoring 21 unanswered points in the second quarter to only let up 6 points in the fourth quarter. But again, for the Redskins, they only scored those 21 points in the second quarter and only scored a field goal in the fourth, leaving the final score to be 24-6, which it could have been a lot worse. But Adrian Peterson happened, and don't think I'm not going to mention it. Again, on the passing side for the Redskins, Alex Smith went 21 for 30 with 255 yards and 2 touchdowns, no picks, 118.1 QB rating. Sam Bradford went 20 of 34 with 153 yards, no touchdown, 1 pick, 57.6 QB rating for him. Adrian Peterson ran the ball for 26 attempts for 96 yards, 1 touchdown. David Johnson had the ball 9 times, carried it for 37 yards and 1 touchdown. Chris Thompson also caught out of the backfield along with Adrian Peterson. Adrian Peterson caught the ball for 70 yards out of the backfield. Chris Thompson caught the ball for 6 times, 63 yards and a touchdown. Larry Fitzgerald led the Cardinals with 7 receptions and 76 yards. The turnover battle was easily won. One turnover by the Redskins, 2 turnovers by the Arizona Cardinals. Complete domination of the Cardinals. They could not do anything on offense. Sam Bradford looked like garbage. And for that second quarter, the Cardinals defense looked like garbage. Washington Redskins walk out of Arizona 1-0, 24-6 is your final. Dallas goes to visit Cam Newton and the Panthers in North Carolina. This game, low scoring. Not a lot going on. Cam Newton threw for 17 completions of 26 attempts with 161 yards. No touchdowns, no picks, but he also ran on 13 attempts for 58 yards and a touchdown. Dak Prescott sat in the pocket through 19 completions for 29 attempts. No picks, no interceptions, 170 yards, 81.1 QB rating. Cam Newton had an 82.4. I don't know if I said it or not. I'm going to go ahead and say it there, though. I'm talking a lot. Holy crap. Ezekiel Elliott ran 15 times for 69 yards and a touchdown. Cole Beasley caught 7 receptions, 73 yards, no touchdowns for the Cowboys. Christian McCaffrey had 6 receptions out of the backfield for 45 yards for the Panthers, and the turnover battle was tied 1-1, and the Carolina Panthers hold on defensively to shut down that offense of the Cowboys and hold them off 16-8. Moving on to the Sunday night collapse, the first half was completely, utterly dominated by the Chicago Bears. Khalil Mack showed why John Gruden was wrong and to get rid of him, and he completely took over that first half of play, especially when Aaron Rodgers left the game. He was all over DeShone Kizer. Finishing the game, though, we had 286 yards on 20 completions for 30 attempts, 3 touchdowns, no picks, 130.7 QB rating for Aaron Rodgers. And on the other end, we had Mitch Trubisky throw 23 completions for 35 yards, no touchdowns, no picks. Had 171 yards through the air, 77.2 completion rating, or QB rating, excuse me. Jordan Howard, rushing for the Bears, had 15 attempts for 82 yards. Jamal Williams for the Packers had 15 attempts for 47 yards. Allen Robinson had 4 receptions for 61 yards. Randall Cobb, had 9 receptions, 142 yards, and a touchdown. Randall Cobb, I said that turnovers won by the Bears, believe it or not. Bears only had one turnover. Packers had two, but it didn't matter in the second half when Aaron Rodgers came back and connected with big touchdowns to completely topple and ruin the Chicago Bears what was a 20-3 lead. Packers take that one on Sunday night, 24-23. New York Jets completely throttle the Detroit Lions. First play of the game, it looked like it was going to be the other way around. Sam Darnold rolled right, looked, stopped, threw across his body, threw a pick six, and it looked like, oh boy. Well, I saw a Twitter that pretty much summed it up at that moment. I saw a tweet. Did I say I saw a Twitter? I probably did. I don't know what the fuck's happening. Anyway, I saw a tweet on Twitter from somebody that said, well, the Sam Darnold era was fun right after he threw the pick six, so I thought that was pretty funny. Sam Darnold ended up finishing the game with 16 completions of 21 attempts, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick, 198 yards with a 116.8 QB rating. Matt Stafford finished the game with a 27 completion game for 46 attempts, 286 yards, 1 touchdown, 4 interceptions for Matt Stafford, 47.9 QB rating. Isaiah Crowell ran all over the place for the Jets. He had 10 attempts for 102 yards and 2 touchdowns. Theo Riddick had 4 attempts for 20 yards on the ground for the Lions. You can see a complete flip-flop on that side. One-dimensional offense got exposed by the defense of the Jets, and the Lions were shut down. Quincy Enunwa caught the ball 6 times for 63 yards and a touchdown. Golden Tate also caught the ball for 7 times and 79 yards and a touchdown. Robbie Anderson also caught a 41-yard touchdown, and that was his only catch of the game, but why not? The turnover battle was easily won by the Jets, who only had 2 turnovers. The Lions had 5, causing that large array of points to be scored by the Jets. 48-17 is your final. And the final game of Week 1, before I start to get into the Week 2 predictions, we had the Rams handle the Oakland Raiders in the second half of what was a close game at one point, but in the second half, the Rams completely took it over, and there was no answer from Oakland. Derek Carr, poor kid. I like this guy. I want him to do well, but Jesus, this guy makes a lot of throws that makes me scratch my head. Poor fucking kid, man. Anyway, he went 29 of 40 for 303 yards, no touchdowns, 3 interceptions, 62.8 QB rating for Derek Carr. Jared Goff, on the other hand, had 18 completions for 33 attempts, 2 touchdowns, 233 yards, 97.2 QB rating. Todd Gurley ran the ball 20 times for 108 yards. Marshawn Lynch had 11 attempts for 41 yards and a touchdown where he carried the entire defense into the end zone. Beast mode is still doing his thing somewhat. Receiving, we had Cooper Kupp with 5 receptions, 52 yards, 1 touchdown. On the other end, we had Jared Cook dominate through the air. He had 9 receptions for 180 yards. This dude was catching everything. Turnover battle was 1-0. Turnovers by the Rams, 3 turnovers by the Raiders. Jordy Nelson had 3 receptions for 23 yards and no touchdown. So that does that for Week 1. The Rams take that one 33-13. Moving on to week number 2, we have a bunch of games here. Oh, excuse me, I didn't talk about one game, and I didn't talk about it kind of on purpose, but I skipped over it because I was going to save it for last. And in my final thoughts, I completely forgot about it. Seattle heard me throw my phone down. Seattle goes to Denver to take on the Broncos. Very first drive for the Broncos. Case Keenum throws a pick to a returning Earl Thomas. Sets him up. 1 or 2 plays later, I believe it's 1 play, Russell Wilson throws a touchdown to Will Dissly. Remember that name, Will Dissly. It is 7-0 Seahawks. And then the Broncos go right down. They score. And there's a bunch of shit that I'm going to get pissed and talk about here. Even though they lost, I still want you to hear what a real quarterback does despite the 2 interceptions. You hear me, Jimmy Garoppolo? You hear me, San Francisco? Do you hear me, 49ers fans? This is what a real quarterback does. A real quarterback finishes the game with a 92.7 QB rating, even in a loss. Russell Wilson threw 298 yards and 3 touchdowns. Yes, he had 2 picks. The one was bad. The one was at the end of the game when it did not matter at all. So that one doesn't really count, even though, yes, it still does technically for the stats. That's what a real quarterback does. Take that Learn from it, Jimmy. Take that and learn, 49ers fans. He's not your savior. Your team's not going to do shit. Anyway, Case Keenum threw the ball 25 times, completed 39 times in total. He had 329 yards through the air, 3 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, 84.2 QB rating. The fact that he threw 3 picks and they still won pisses me off even right now. Chris Carson ran the ball for only 7 times. What the fuck? Anyway, 7 times for 51 yards. Every time he touched the ball, it was a positive. Why did you stop giving him the fucking ball? Balance out that fucking offense. Russell Wilson threw it too much. He looked bad at some points. He didn't look like the Russell Wilson we all know. The stats, you take away those picks, looked pretty damn good. But watching him play, he looked uncomfortable. He looked weird. He didn't look like the Russell Wilson I know. You got to split that game up. You got to run the ball. You got to go with what works. They tried a lot to get Rashad Penny into that game when it wasn't working. And they still kept him on the field and kept trying and trying and trying. And it was not fucking working. You take him out. You put Chris Carson in. You do what fucking works. This is why you lost the fucking Super Bowl. You stopped doing what fucking worked. I am a Seahawk fan. I have the right to talk about this. You run the ball. You set it up for Russell Wilson to throw the ball. And then you continue to run the ball. This is where we're most successful. It's been proven time and time again. Even though last year Russell Wilson put the whole fucking team on his back. Still, you get that balance of a run game, this team will prosper. You don't have this run game. You don't give it to the best back in the field more than 7 times. You will lose. And that is what happened Sunday. Now, there are some shitty things that happened. One, in the first quarter, there was a fumble that wasn't challenged in time, or whatever, that would have come back for Seattle. And then all the way at the end of the game, apparently, you can catch the ball and have your toes hanging out of the fucking end zone. You can have the end of your shoe hanging on the white fucking line on the sideline in the end zone. It's still a touchdown. Demaryius Thomas apparently still has a touchdown, even though half of his fucking foot was out of bounds. I guess that's still a touchdown. Seahawks lose 27-24. I'm done talking about this game, but I will say one thing. One thing to take away for Seahawks fans: 3 receptions, 105 yards through the air, and 1 touchdown for Will Dissly. Pay attention to that kid. He's going to be a monster. All right, that's week 1. I'm done talking about that because I'm pissed, and I don't want to be too pissed on this podcast. I want to send positive vibes. I don't want to be negative. You know? All right, so that's week 1. Out of those games, I only got a couple wrong. I got the Chargers game wrong. I got the Steelers game wrong because they fucking tied. I got the Titans game wrong. I got the Texans wrong. But other than that, I got everything else right. Moving on to week 2. As you can see on the screen, and as... Yep, see, same thing like last week. On my piece of paper that I have here, the first 2 games are the same as the 2 first games you see on the screen. After that, they're not in the same order. Ravens at Bengals. Well, my opinion's probably going to change here. Before the season started, I picked the Bengals to beat the Ravens. I'm going to go ahead and change that pick right now for the sake of the podcast. With the predictions that I have with my dad and my friend Carson, I'm not going to change it there. I'm going to keep it because that's what we did. We can't really change it now. So this was preseason, like before the season started, not like preseason weeks predictions, like the before the season started predictions. Now that we saw what we saw week 1, I'm going to go ahead and take the Ravens over the Bengals. Next we have the Panthers going to Atlanta. I'm going to go ahead and take the Panthers. I believe On this piece of paper, I took the Falcons, but I'm going to go ahead and take the Panthers here. I don't know. The Falcons looked like a mess. Matt Ryan looked like a mess. I think Cam Newton and the Panthers are probably going to be more well put together, but we'll find out. We have what's next on the screen? We got Colts and Redskins on the screen. I'm just going to go down my piece of paper here. You can listen for what's where. The schedule's just up there for you guys to see. You know, um, I got Chargers beating the Bills in Buffalo. What else we got? We got Vikings and Packers. Packers are home against the Vikings. I got Vikings. That defense is going to be too much for Aaron Rodgers, and unlike the Bears, I don't think the Vikings can collapse because the Vikings offense is better than the Bears offense. So I think they'll be able to provide points when they cause trouble for Aaron Rodgers. We got the Browns going to New Orleans. I think the Saints are going to be a little pissed for letting Ryan Fitzpatrick come in and completely take over their house. So I'm gonna go ahead and pick Saints to beat the Browns, but the Browns might put up a fight. Don't sleep on the Cleveland Brownies this year, guys. I'm serious, don't. Next we have the Dolphins at the Jets. Both teams played exceptionally well. Dolphins exceeded expectations and won the game last week. I'm still going to go ahead and take the Jets. I think they're the better team. Jets will beat the Dolphins, I think. We got the Chiefs going to the Steelers. If the Steelers played like they did against the Browns, the Chiefs should walk all over them. But it is the Steelers, like I said. They play down to the competition. So in a game where they're expected to play well against a well team, they're probably going to play all right, and I'm going to take the Steelers. We have the Buccaneers hosting the defending Super Bowl champions, the Philadelphia Eagles. If Ryan Fitzpatrick plays like he did against the Saints, I don't fucking know, but I'm going to go ahead and take the Eagles. But who knows, Maybe that game will be crazy, or maybe not. Who knows? We got the Titans possibly without a Mariota and definitely without Delaney Walker hosting Deshaun Watson and the Texans. Deshaun Watson's going to be a little pissed about having a bad game in New England, so expect him to come into Tennessee and make some noise. I got the Texans winning over the Titans. The Colts are going to go to Washington, take on the Redskins. Redskins should handle the Colts pretty well, although Andrew Luck might put up a little bit of a fight. Other than that, I got the Redskins taking over the Colts. Next we have the Rams are completely going to slaughter the Arizona Cardinals. I'm not even going to talk about that. We have the 49ers hosting the Lions. Well, this game's going to be a fucking shit show, isn't it? 49ers probably will win. They did look decent. They looked a lot better than the fucking Lions did, that's for sure. I'm going to take the 49ers, but I hope Matt Stafford goes in there with a vengeance and shows Jimmy Garoppolo what a real quarterback does. We got the Raiders going to the Broncos. Seeing what we did last night and Sunday, Broncos are probably going to end up winning this game. I did pick the Raiders before the season started, but I'm going to go ahead and change it right now. I'm going to take the Broncos to beat the Raiders in Denver. We have the Patriots going to Jacksonville. A rematch of the AFC Championship game from last year. I got the Jaguars. 2 weeks in a row, I picked against Tom Brady and the Patriots. I picked against Bill Belichick and the Patriots. I picked against Palpatine and Darth Vader. 2 weeks in a row. Guess what? Jacksonville Jaguars are going to win this game. We have the New York Giants traveling to Dallas to take on the division rival Dallas Cowboys. New York Giants are going to win this game. Cowboys are garbage. And then we have finally on Monday night, we have Seattle going to Chicago. One of two things will happen. This game will be a good game. Russell Wilson will look good. Throw all over the place and Seattle will win. Or Khalil Mack will completely destroy Jermaine Ifedi and kill Russell Wilson and the Bears will win. I picked the Seahawks this week. For real. Both before the season started and right now. I think we're going to bounce back and play better. We already know our mistakes to improve from last week. So I don't think we'll make the same mistakes again. Doug Baldwin is hurt. I don't think he's going to play this week, so look for David Moore to get more attention. Look for Brandon Marshall to get more attention. Tyler Lockett's going to get more attention. Will Dissly's probably going to get a lot more attention. That motherfucker balled out last week. And, yeah. I got the Seahawks beating the Bears, but, who fucking knows at this point, right? You watch the Bears not choke for us. You watch them play like it's a fucking Super Bowl against us and kick our ass, right? Who knows? Go Seahawks. That's all I got to say about that. All right, guys. Well, that's gonna do it for the week one review and week two predictions. This ended up being shorter than I thought it was gonna be, which is fine, fine by me. Like I said at the beginning of the show, go ahead and check out the Game Takes app. Seriously, go ahead and check that out. It's a pretty cool app. If you guys want to download it for yourselves and have cool little podcasts with your friends or other people that you meet on the community on that app, absolutely go for it. If any of you want to reach out to me and have a podcast with me, I'd absolutely love to. Just let me know on Twitter. And you can find me on Twitter at DynastyCast. You can also find me on Instagram at Dynasty_cast. Please like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Hit that notification bell for every time a video is uploaded to my channel. Expect things on the Game Takes app if you guys download that. Seriously, like I said, please go check that out. It's a cool-ass app, and I enjoy it. Alright, guys, I think I'm going to go ahead and hop out of here. I appreciate everyone who came last week. My NFL Week 1 predictions video was my highest viewed video I have yet on my YouTube channel, so I thank everybody who watched it and left the thumbs up. Appreciate you guys, you know? It's cool. This is a cool thing to do. So, without further ado, I want to thank you guys again for watching. One more time, I'm going to go ahead and say leave a like on this video. Subscribe to my channel. Comment on this video. Let me know things you want to see in the future. Let me know any ideas you might have for this channel. Hit the notification bell for when a video is uploaded, and I will see you guys next week. Thank you guys.